All right. Ace Attorney. Investigations 2. Turnabout Legacy. Getting interesting. See how this turns. I wish I had a monocle or one of those opera. April 2nd. The test results have just come in, sir. Traces of ubiquium. I already forgot how to pronounce that. Ubiquium were found in the teapot. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it. It's a real drug. They were? Just like Mr. Edwards said. Curse you. You better not think this means you beat me. You really need to drop this obsession with coming in first, Mr. Winner. We're all on the same side, remember? What? But first is best. Everyone knows it's better to be a winner than a loser. There's really no way for a prosecutor to think. Not a successful one, anyway. But Enough. Mr. Edgeworth, please refrain from taunting the boy. Ignore him, Eustace. He isn't worthy of your attention. I cannot stand her. She is someone. He's getting laid is what needs to happen. Oh, Gaville. Oh, all right. Why don't I take care of things from here for now? In the meantime, you can perform the far more important task of going and checking on the victim. Oh, yeah, good idea. I'll be right back. Excellent. We shall see you shortly then. Mr. Winner's annoying, but totally harmless. Judge Gavale, on the other hand. Now. Miss Bound, perhaps you could explain why traces of ubiquium were found in your teapot? I had no idea there was anything like that in there. Perhaps it's one of the ingredients in the dishwashing soap I use? So, you are telling the court that you did not intentionally put ubiquium in the teapot? Yes, exactly. Why would I? Until today, I had no idea that it could even be used to make poison gas.
Objection!
You're a trained actress. Oh my god, I cannot talk. You're a trained actress, are you not, Miss Bound? I'd have thought you would be a more convincing liar. What do you mean? Also, we can all agree that she totally had a boob job, right? You have access to the Ultimate Cookbook, correct? A book that just happens to contain instructions on how to create the poison gas used in the attack. Meaning, it's perfectly possible for you to know exactly how to make it. Yeah. You're very well informed, Mr. Edgeworth. Miss Bound, is what Mr. Edgeworth said true? The book does contain information on how to make the poison gas. Yes. But the fact that I have seen it doesn't make me guilty. Can I ask exactly how the gas was triggered? The victim used a blowtorch to heat the lid of one of the display cases, thereby melting the ubiquium. I see. But he locked himself in the room too, didn't he? Surely that and the fact that he triggered it himself wouldn't it point to it being a suicide attempt? But she's not willing to admit to anything. Furthermore, where would I have gotten hold of the Infesticide Ultra? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps you stole it? did bump into Moody Judy a week or so ago. That very evening, I noticed my Infesticide Ultra had gone missing. Judy? Surely you didn't. Delicia, you carry your bag of pharmaceuticals with you everywhere, don't you? There would have been any number of opportunities for someone other than myself to steal it from you. That's true. I don't have any hard evidence that it was definitely Miss Bound who stole it. Jeez, there's clearly something you're not telling us. Why don't you just come clean? We all know you'd never hurt somebody for no reason, so not you too. You think I'm guilty as well, Mr. Fender? Can you blame me? You've got one wing disguised as another, a gas trap in one of the display cases, and you're the proprietor of the establishment. It's looking a lot like you did it, kiddo. You've got this all wrong. You have to remember, the gallery doesn't have any security cameras, nor any security personnel.
Well, that's your fault.
If some ill-intentioned person or other wanted to get in undetected, I don't think they'd have much of a problem. Wow, you're practically asking to be burglarized. You need to be more careful. A great thief could have a field day in here. And I don't think she's joking. And actually, it seems that Mr. Gusto did in fact enter the gallery before it opened. Sheesh. Judy's one tough cookie. She's not budging an inch. Maybe it's time to rock a little technique Gregory taught me back in the day. What technique might that be? So, hear me out. Everything's connected to what happened 18 years back, yeah? And since we're not getting anywhere by focusing only on the here and now, maybe we ought to approach this from a different angle and look for the past. Look to the past for clues instead. A turnabout in thinking. So my father used this method as well. Alright, let's run through the old Thinkatron. How was Jude involved in what happened back then? According to Miss Bound, it was because of her that Mr. Frost-flavored ice sculptures were melted. And yet, these sculptures are here on display at this very gallery today. Is it possible that she... Thank you, Mr. Fender. I think I know what I need to ask Miss Bound now. Don't thank me, thank your pops. Now, take it away, Milesy. I'll grab the popcorn. It's Bound. You say that you were the one who caused Mr. Frost's creation to melt 18 years ago, correct? I'm afraid so. I was young and foolish, and it was a terrible accident. And yet, what you did allowed you to open this exhibit, no? What do you mean? Yes, what do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? If you're going to ask such questions, perhaps a formal testimony from Miss Bound might be best. Yes, perhaps it might. I'd like to know a little more about Zodiac Hall. And about why Miss Bound decided to dedicate this space to Mr. Frost's work. Very well. If you believe it will be relevant to the case, I will allow it. Miss Bound, would you mind? Not at all. I'll do whatever it takes to prove that I'm innocent. Then please, if you could give us some background on Zodiac Hall and the pieces on display here. Zodiac Hall. It took 18 years, but at long last I was finally able to buy Samson's home back a little while ago. But a place like this is expensive to maintain, so I decided to turn it into an art gallery. To that end, I collected as many Paul Halik pieces as I could from around the world. Because if I'm honest, it's always been something of a dream of mine to open a space dedicated to his work. Thank you for your testimony, Miss Bound. How wonderful it is you were able to fulfill your dream. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, everything seems entirely above board to me. Judge Gavale, that was simply the witness's preliminary statement. As you surely know, the value of that testimony cannot be evaluated without due cross-examination. Spoken like a true attorney. Spoken like a bitch. Very well, you may do what you must.
Hold it!
Holly, that was Mr. Frost's pseudonym, correct? Yes, he adopted it while he was working as a sculptor in France. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Nope. I see. I'm more curious about some of the pieces in your collection. More specifically, how were you able to acquire the Taurus and Gemini sculpture? It was my understanding that Mr. Frost died before he could complete them. Yes, I was able to create replicas for the Winter Wing based on photos of the sculptures he made. Really? Perhaps you could go into some more detail on that? Because if I'm honest, it's always been something of a dream of mine to open a space dedicated to this work. I was able to create replicas for the Winter Wing based on photos of the sculpture.
Objection!
Bloop. Oh, we got the finger. She got the finger wag. I'm afraid you've run out of road, Miss Bound. You're out of bounds. God, that's probably a pun that's coming too, isn't it? You can lie all you like, but you can't deny the results of the tests conducted on the sculpture's remains. Those tests leave no room for ambiguity. What you had on display weren't replicas. They were the very statues Mr. Frost carved 18 years ago. Ooh. I can probably help explain how they worked it out if you like, dear. It's the sugar, you see? You might think sugar is sugar. But the composition is actually very unique. You could probably recreate the statues, but the sweet secret of their chemical makeup? No chance. Thank you, Miss Scone. I don't recall asking for her help, but still. To put it simply, the statues didn't disappear back then because they melted. They disappeared because you spirited them away and kept them hidden for these 18 long years. What? She kept a pair of flavored ice sculptures around somewhere for all that time? It's not the most out there idea in the world, assuming you had a big enough icebox.
Overruled!
Quiet, all of you. Miss Bound, have you anything to say in your defense? We've already learned that much. Should I take it that you need to admit to having hidden the flavored ice sculptures in question? No, I admit no such thing. You haven't proven that I was the one who took those statues away. And you won't, because it would have been impossible for me to do so in the first place. The police were already here when they disappeared. How could I have done it without them noticing? How indeed. I don't yet know exactly how you did it. but I'm far from ready to say that it was impossible for you to have stolen them away. You're a very persistent man, aren't you, Mr. Edgeworth? I am indeed, and I won't stop until I get to the truth. I see. Then I'd better tell you exactly what I did that day 18. So she can recall what she did exactly 18 years ago? I couldn't even tell you what I did 18 minutes ago. The whole time before judging began, I was waiting upstairs in our living area on standby. During the judging, I had to go change the camera's film cartridge for Samson. But before I could take the cameras back to Samson, I discovered Mr. Frost's body. Later, around when your father arrived, I began to make the rounds and serve tea to everybody present. That was when I saw Mr. Gusto entering Mr. Frost's room. And those were my movements on the day it all happened. I hardly see how you could take issue with any of that. That's for us to decide, Miss Bound. Are you saying there's a contradiction in her story, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm more focused on proving the fact that she did indeed steal those statues. The question is when she would have had the opportunity to do so. If I can pinpoint that, I might be able to prove what exactly she got up to.
Hold it!
Just as you did today? Yes. I went around and offered everybody working on the investigation a cup of tea. Present company included. I remember it well. You were here, there, upstairs, downstairs, everywhere with that little cart of yours. Interesting. Did anything strike you as strange around that time? Oh yeah, Gregory was singing the praises of Judy's tea, and I think he mentioned his saucer was cold. His saucer was cold? Oh, you bitch. Miss Bound, I believe this was when you stole the sculptures. I hate to contradict you, but the mountain room was full of witnesses at that point, Mr. Fender included. Are you suggesting that I somehow got the sculptures out of Mr. Frost's room, right under everyone's noses? That is precisely what I'm suggesting. Bound stole those ice sculptures. She did it by hiding them here.
Take that!
Take that! My father and Fender had no idea that one of the sculptures was mere inches away from them. Because it wasn't just a tea set you were putting around, Miss Bound. A hidden ice sculpture in a glass case. Ah!
Overruled!
Surely such a thing would have been impossible. How would a case of that size fit on a serving cart? It would have been spotted immediately.
Objection!
Who said anything about a serving cart? I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Edgeworth. What are you suggesting she used instead? I'm suggesting that Miss Bound used this to transport the sculptures.
Take that!
And this is... the cart that Miss Bound used to remove flavored ice sculptures out of Mr. Frost's room 18 years ago. And it would appear that the very same cart is still here with us in this fountain room. We originally bought it for use in the contest. Are you saying that Miss Bound loaded Mr. Frost's sculptures onto this cart and carried them off? I am. As you can imagine, all one would need to do is lay a case on its side, add a tablecloth, and it looked exactly like a normal serving cart, thus allowing her to move the sculptures around freely. Wow, that's crafty. Can it be? Holy moly. Of course, that's why those saucers were so chilly. They were sitting on top of a big block of ice. Shoot. How could you? Impressive. Then again, you are Mr. Gregory Edgeworth's son. I should have expected no less. There isn't a scrap of evidence that I stole the sculptures all those years ago now. And yet, I knew that no matter what I said or did, I'd always be under a cloud of suspicion. So you admit it? You admit that you stole them from Mr. Frost's room? Yes, I do. I took those sculptures and their glass cases out of that room 18 years ago. As Mr. Edgeworth correctly deduced, I dressed up the lift cart as a serving cart to do it. And slipped in and out of Mr. Frost's room while I was going around serving tea to everybody. In the end, I removed not only the sculptures, the flavored ice zodiac blocks as well. Zodiac blocks? I feel like I've seen them for myself. There's a huge block of ice on display here. It must be incredibly heavy. Well, maybe not. What with it being hollow on the inside? If the winter wing really is an exact replica of Mr. Frost's room, then even though my father never saw them because they'd already melted, Zodiac blocks must have been in this victim's back room back then as well. When I had finished moving the 2 ice sculptures and the 2 Zodiac blocks out, I took 2 fresh, empty cases to Mr. Frost's room and put them where the original 2 had been. Only the sculptures had been kept in glass cases, you see, to prevent them from being damaged. The blocks were a little more robust, so they had been displayed as ins. As stated in the contest rules, we were responsible for providing all display materials, including cases. Meaning it would have been easy for her to prepare those empty spares she swapped in. Mr. Frost's room contained quite a few other flavored iceworks in progress. I figured if I melted them down somehow, the resulting puddle would look like it came from the sculpture. That is how the sculptures from 18 years ago came to be in the winter wing today. I have to say, Mr. Edgeworth, that's quite the confession. Indeed, and I think she offered it so willingly because she knows nothing we can do with it. That's all I have to tell you. However, despite everything I've shared, you can't charge me with anything now, can you? What? How do you figure that? Oh my. I would have thought you might know at least this much, given we're at a crime scene. I suggest you memorize the various statutes of limitations outlined in this book. Statutes of what? Simply put, Kay, prosecutors only have a certain amount of time within which they can suspect a trial for a given or put a suspect on trial. Let's take a closer look, shall we? I wasn't done reading that, game. So, for theft, it's 7 years from the date of crime. Separate time frames apply with regards to claims for damages, etc. Murder, it's 15 years from the date of the crime. The statute is suspended should the suspect flee to a foreign country. The statute is suspended from the time of any accomplice's indictment to the end of their trial. So it's different for every crime. Murder, 15 years. Theft, 7. Ah! Yes, Miss Bound stole the ice sculptures 18 years ago. It's too late to have her arrested for that crime. I don't think. Theft is a serious matter, especially when it involves the removal of evidence from a crime scene. However, as you yourself just pointed out, Miss Bound can no longer be prosecuted for her crime. Rendering your revelation rather pointless, wouldn't you say, Mr. Edward?
Objection!
Bitch. I wouldn't be so sure about that. For you see, the theft of the ice sculptures isn't my principal interest. I find the body that reappeared 18 years after the theft to be of considerably more interest. Are you suggesting that I also hid Mr. Frost's body? I am indeed. But how do you keep a body hidden for 18 years without anybody finding it? By hiding it in a very unusual way. Ooh, now this is interesting. Are you telling me that you know where the body has been all this time, Mr. Edgeworth? It's not such a big leap if you think about what Miss Bound has told us already. Let's just say it wasn't just flavored ice she removed from Mr. Frost's room back then. Very well. If you are confident in this claim, let us put it to the test. Tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, where exactly was Mr. Frost's body hidden?
Take that!
A photograph of Mr. Frost's work? And of the victim's body, Your Honor. You will have to forgive me, but I don't see what you mean. Where exactly in this photograph is Mr. Frost's body? The victim's body is hiding right here.
Take that!
The Gemini sculpture? Yes, it may look like a sculpture at first glance, but it is in fact Mr. Frost's corpse. Ooh. Surely you can't be serious. I don't see anything in the photograph to support such a wild claim.
Objection!
That's because a certain piece of evidence was used to hide the body in plain sight. What piece of evidence might that be? The court demands that you present what was used to conceal the body.
Take that!
One of the claws from In the Autumn Wing? Yes. When it's made to glow in just the right way, it's so visually convincing, you might mistake it for ice. Isn't that right, Miss Scone? Well, yes. But you can make it look just like just about anything, really, even blazing fire. And the right shade of blue would make it look like ice, yes, exactly like that. I want these claws, by the way. Is it not the case that a certain special device is needed to generate these colors?
Objection!
You'd care to take another look at the photograph in the Winter Wing, Your Honor. You'll notice there is a small box connected to the bottom of the Gemini placate. That's one of the very light-emitting devices in question. Detective Gumshoe even confirmed its presence. Okay, so this is gross and morbid. In fact, this particular device went missing 18 years ago. Back then, it was no doubt firmly connected to the cloth inside the display case, which means Miss Bound had no choice but to take it with her when she removed the sculpture. So you see, this cloth and the light-emitting device were being used to create the illusion that Mr. Frost's body was in fact a statue carved from ice. This can't be. Wait, so you're telling me that when we took that photo of us in the winter wing, yes, we were standing right in front of the body. But the body and the cloth were both recovered from the fountain. Why were they found there if the body was supposed to be in the winter wing disguised as a sculpture? Because there would have been no mystery as to how the body had been hidden if we found it as is. Miss Bound needed to remove Mr. Frost from the winter wing in order to throw us off the sun. Ridiculous. I don't recall her sneaking around behind our backs to throw a body into the fountain. No, and she didn't need to. Because she had another method at her disposal. Her trusty lift cart. The same cart that had proved so useful in executing her original theft. But, I believe she wheeled the body into one of the other wings and floated it down the stream to the fountain. The frozen body, being quite solid, probably got stuck somewhere along the way. Which is why only the cloth appeared at first. The cloth Miss Scone discovered. And then the body followed afterwards once it had thawed enough. Ugh. An ingenious theory, Mr. Edgeworth. But can you prove that it was me? Why it always gotta be proof with you people? Like, seems a little unfair to expect me to accept your accusations without proof, don't you think? What about an eyewitness? Do you think someone might have spotted her when she was moving the body? As a matter of fact, I do. Contradiction. Evidence I was provided. I will shed light on exactly how Miss Bound's body is alive. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you have any evidence to support your allegation? Of course, I have a piece of very compelling proof right here. Then please present it to the court. What evidence do you have that proves Miss Bound acted as you? Why are we relying on sketches? More drawings. And is that me? Yes, Mr. Butts drew sketches of people as they passed through the fountain. But what I'm interested in is the cart we can see here. Miss Bound's serving cart? What about it? Don't see it? She's using the same trick she used 18 years ago. Ergo, you know that Miss Bound was busy moving Mr. Frost's body when this picture was being drawn. What? If I may, I don't see Mr. Frost's body anywhere in that sketch. All I see is a picture of me delivering chocolates to everyone. Really? Then allow me to direct your attention to the color of the tablecloth Miss Bound. I'd originally thought that Mr. Butts had made an error, but he assured me that couldn't possibly be the case. This tablecloth appears to be light blue. Yes, a shade of tablecloth that Miss Bound doesn't seem to own. The only cloth that appears to be light blue due to the body hiding just underneath. Oh, the cloth only appears to be light blue. Well, but the shape of the cart is perfectly rectangular, just as one would expect. Surely it would be immediately obvious that the tablecloth was being draped directly over the body.
Objection!
Not if the body had been placed inside one of the hollow zodiac blocks in the winter wing. Place one of those on the lip cart, and it'd easily pass muster as a regular serving cart, wouldn't you agree? Goddess of justice! Miss Bound. Surely you must now admit that it was you who moved the body, just as you did 18 years ago. I didn't expect you to deduce all of that from a single simple sketch. that sketch alone isn't really enough to prove your theory, is it? You needn't worry on that front. My case doesn't rest solely on Mr. Butt's artwork. Once you dispose of the body, your serving cart became a simple lift cart once more, which is exactly what we discovered here in the fountain room. And without a serving cart, you had to find some place to put your chocolates. My chocolates? The one I was handing out? As we saw in the sketch, you had originally placed them on top of the cart. But the chocolates you gave us came from your pocket. Oh yeah, mine was half melted. It's still super sweet and tasty though. Why did you suddenly feel the need to put the chocolates in your pocket? It was because you no longer had a serving cart to put them on, that's why. One moment. One moment, please. You have explained what Miss Bound did with the chocolates in the lift cart. But what about the tablecloth? Where did it go? Indeed, stashing the chocolates in her pocket was the only thing to think of. I doubt Miss Bound had the time to dispose of an entire tablecloth. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you have an answer for me? Miss Bound didn't hide or dispose of the tablecloth, Your Honor. In fact, it's right here in front of us. Perhaps you would care to enlighten us? Where exactly is the tablecloth Miss Bound used to hide the body? Miss Bound has the tablecloth on her person, and in plain view, in fact. In plain view. No! Surely you don't mean. Miss Bound. It's the cloth around your waist, isn't it? Oh shit. Given that the Zodiac blocks weren't kept in glass cases, that cloth would have been in direct contact with the ice. All we would need to do to confirm my theory is to test the cloth for traces of the sugar used in Mr. Frost's work. The game is up, Miss Bound. Time to come clean. You won't need to test the tablecloth. Everything you said is true. I stole Delicia's Infesticide Ultra, and I moved Mr. Frost's body. It was me. It was all me. She's got the Telemundo. Delicia, I'm so sorry. Last week I went into your bag and I took it. And then I put it in his pocket, hoping to make it look like he had tried to do himself in. I also made sure to leave no fingerprints but yours, just in case the police suspected foul play. Judy, you... Oh gosh. But Judes, why? Weren't we supposed to be on the same side? All fighting together to free Samson? We were. But I couldn't afford to get arrested. Not yet. Not until I'd finally proven that Samson is innocent. I always planned to give myself up in the end, I swear. I know it's easy to say that now, but why do it this way, though? It's not like you. I'm sorry, Mr. Fender. I've caused you so much trouble. I've been the guilty party all along, ever since that day 18 years ago. Are you trying to tell us that the true culprit in the IS-7 incident was you? I committed a terrible crime. I took those sculptures, and I stole them for purely selfish reasons. The moment Mr. Frost died, they became more than mere entries in the confectionery content. They became the final works of Samson's favorite artist. I couldn't allow them to just melt away, not before he came home. That meant I couldn't let anybody near them, not even the police. So I hid them. I knew it was wrong, but I just had to. I put them in the cold storage room for safekeeping. But what I had actually done was far worse than anything I could have possibly imagined. Because who would have thought that Mr. Frost's body itself was posing as one of the sculptures? But she didn't know about the body when she sold the sculptures? Samson is a kind man, a saint. He could never kill anybody. Never. And yet, because of what I did, the police never found Mr. Frost's body, and Samson was found guilty. After all he'd done for me, he was my family. Only family I've ever had. He's the most important person in the entire world to me. And after his conviction, I was forced out of our home. I was finally able to return only a few days ago. And when I did, I went to the cold storage to check up on the sculptures. That's when I saw it. Mr. Frost's body. It had been there the whole time. Of course, by that point, the statute of limitations had expired. So I did what I did today. Because it was the only way I could think of to make things right. It seems I've misunderstood her intentions. Everything she's done really has all been for Mr. Tangaroa's sake. Hey, what are you thinking about, Mr. Edgeworth? Something that's been puzzling me. Why did Miss Bound use poison gas? Why not a more reliable method? Why disguise the autumn wing as the winter wing? The only reason I can think of is to confuse someone who was here 18 years ago. Yeah, I wonder what she had in mind. If she was trying to prove that Mr. Tangaroa is innocent, Miss Bound's ultimate goal must be to... She had been trying to discover the identity of the true culprit? Miss Bound. Your ultimate aim was to see Mr. Tangaroa cleared of all charges, correct? And to that end, you had to expose the real killer and have the police find the body from 18 years ago. Is my understanding of your intentions correct? Exhibiting the sculptures was sure to force the killer to return to the crime scene. After all, they were the only person apart from you who knew that the body was hidden in the icework. So they would have freaked out thinking the body was about to be discovered and come running, yeah? Exactly. Miss Bound ran the risk that the killer might successfully cover their tracks this time. In the worst case scenario, they might have even been able to remove Mr. Frost's body from the scene. But how could she lure the true killer into revealing themselves without putting vital evidence at risk? Oh, I see what you're getting at. You're saying that's why the autumn wing was all winter wingy. I am. You were betting on one thing, Miss Bound, weren't you? That whoever opened the Pisces case you had so carefully disguised as the Gemini case would be the real perpetrator of the IS-7 incident. No. But that would mean the real killer was... Enough. Not another word. Do you realize the implications of what you are saying, Mr. Edgeworth? Are you prepared to stand behind the accusation you are clearly about to make? Miss Bound set a trap for Mr. Frost's killer, and whoever found themselves caught in that trap is highly likely to be the guilty party. But I lack the evidence to support such an assertion. To accuse someone without any evidence is not to be done lightly. So, should I really go ahead and make my accusation and name Mr. Frost's killer nonetheless? Let's have some. The goal is to see the truth exposed. For that, I need to seize the moment. Yes, Judge Gavelle. I am prepared to stand behind my accusation. I know exactly who's to blame for the IS-7 incident.
Take that!
Mr. Gusto? The victim of the poison gas attack is the perpetrator behind the IS-7 incident? Gusty? Mr. Gusto. Misbound. As we have established, we knew that the opening of the gallery would lure in the real culprits. And you set up the poison gas trap in order to catch them. Do you dispute the facts thus far? You're a very impressive man, Mr. Edgeworth, just like your father. And of course, you're absolutely right. Then perhaps you could tell us exactly what happened in your own words. Of course, I have nothing to hide anymore, so I might as well tell you everything. As you said, I set a trap here in the gallery to try and catch Mr. Frost's killer. Before we opened, I made sure that the door to the autumn wing was the only one that was unlocked. When opening time came, I went around to unlock the doors of the various rooms and found that the autumn wing had been locked from the inside. The killer is on the other side of the door. The thought, well, it frightened me. And then she simply walked away, leaving him to fall victim to her poison gas trap. When I heard that Mr. Gusto was being treated for gas inhalation, that's when I knew he was the real murderer. And all that was left for the police to find Mr. Frost's body, and Samson would finally be proven innocent. At least that was my... Dude, why didn't you tell me? You know I'm always here for you, right? You could have found another way. It didn't have to be like this. Thank you, Mr. Fender. You've been so very kind to me all these years. I'm the one who created this mess, so it was up to me to try and clear it up. I didn't care what it took, as long as I could get Samson out of that awful place. Judy. 18 years ago, the police managed to cover up the fact that Mr. Frost's body had gone missing. I went to them now and said it had reappeared. I was afraid they might try to cover things up again. So I worked to set up a very public incident here in the gallery, in front of as many witnesses as possible. I'm so sorry, Judy. You, Samson, Gregory, I let you all down. Fender, this can't be easy for me. No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. Mr. Edgeworth, Mr. Fender, I hope one day you can forgive me. Whatever punishment I have to face, I'm ready to accept it. Please, if I may ask one thing of you, is that you simply must clear Samson's name. The way the truth of these past 18 years had come to light was unexpected, to say the least. And yet, only set us down a path towards an even more shocking end. To be continued. Dun, dun, dun. God, that one was only 48 minutes. Alright. That was a short one. I'm gonna take another break, and then I think it's gonna be time to finally end this thing once and for all. Well, this case. Still 2 more. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. I will see you all later.